Hi, everybody. I've just hit the record button. Welcome to the next session. We are on number 7, but unbelievably, which means I think we've done about 14 hours of this so far. Sitara has very kindly volunteered to give us a quick overview of what her thoughts were around the homework that we did last week. If you can't remember what the homework was, I made you basically go through a lot of data and manually add it to Salesforce just to give you the experience of what it can be like to add that information and to contextualize it for you. So Sitara, you're off mute now. So if you fancy giving us an overview, tell us what you think, what you learnt, you know, and what you want to do based on that learning. Okay, Sitara, are you there? Okay, she's not here. Okay. Okay, no problem. Would anybody else like to talk us through what their views were on the homework? Okay, all right then. Then I will leave that to you guys. Just let us know if Sitara, if you manage to get online and get your sound working, you're welcome to chime in at any point. So last week we gave you, we started going through the Lightning Experience customization badge on Trailhead, and we got ourselves to the point where not only had we been entering data into Salesforce all of that week, as horrible as it is, in terms of how long it is, I'm going to ask one quick question. When you got to the end of that homework, yeah, no problem, Sitara. I've had a crazy child too, so don't worry. One of the reasons I set you that homework was to, first of all, give you the experience to learn in it, to learn the experience of adding the data in, but secondly, to make you really want to explore other ways of entering data. Now, did I manage to do that? Lots of yeses. Did anybody take it a little bit further and actually give themselves the opportunity to bulk upload? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So quite a few of you have used the import wizard. Yeah, Adam used it to upload the leads. Barbara used it to import the information. Then you manually did step 2 and 3. Okay, fantastic. Tracy uploaded the leads as well. Samira struggled to bulk upload the opportunities, but that's okay. The fact that you've managed to get the leads and the contacts in there in the first place is absolutely commendable. So congratulations to all of you who've managed to do that. You can help me teach the data import session later on. Yeah. So so without further ado, where we left it on Wednesday last week is we completed. Oh, Betsy, well done. You've done the data management badge. Fantastic. Last week we completed 2 sections of the Lightning Experience customization badge. So today we're going to carry on with that badge. First of all, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to check in the chat. Can you all see that? You can just basically see Hangouts and all of yourselves. So Stephen, Jeremy, and Monica. Lovely. Okay, thank you. So last week we set up our org, we created and customized a Lightning app. So this week we are going to plow on through. The first thing we're going to do is list views, which you should all know how to do by now, but we'll just, for those of you who are joining today or need a bit of a refresher, we're going to do a hands-on challenge where you get to create some list views. Can anybody remember what list views, what's the difference between list views and reports? Okay. Can anybody remember how you get to list views? Yes, you. Okay. There are two answers. One says, Samira says you can't filter list views. Betsy says that list views are personal. You're half right. Samira, you can filter list views, but you can add more criteria, and there are limits. Yes, there are limits to the number of criteria that you can add. Reports are indeed a more detailed view of a list. Betsy, you can have personal list views, but you can also, as an administrator, you can create public list views. And those are the sorts of things that people need to think about really carefully, because if you make too many list views, it can become quite unmanageable at that stage. So we try and encourage people to create public list views that make sense, that the ones that they would, the ones that users will use the most often, as opposed to just creating all your views as public willy-nilly. So in this instance, I'm going to ask you to come to the Lightning Experience Customization badge. Hopefully you're all logged into Trailhead by now. Welcome if you haven't started. If you're brand new to us, then welcome. You can follow along. This is like session 7 now, so if you haven't been following along, you may be jumping in at a slightly, well, you're jumping in further down the line, but thank you for joining. Baba has linked the Trailhead badge in the chat, so do feel free to have a look at that. Log into Trailhead and away we go. So in this the learning objectives for this Trailhead badge is to create list views. So in using the scenario of Maria and the Ursa Major Solar Company, we're going to talk about what one of her co-workers, Erin, is going to be doing. She's a new sales rep, and she's focusing on channel customers in the United States. So she wants to set up a list view so that she can only see those types of accounts. So what you're going to do is a real quick way to get to your hands-on to your Trailhead playground. If you just click, so remember we're on step 3. So you go to Lightning Experience Customization, then we're on step number 3, which is create and customize list views. If you, on the right-hand side, just tap the word challenge, it will scroll you all the way down. And then you can use this launch button here to launch your Trailhead playground so that you can follow along. And then you can just click on learning objectives and it will scroll you all the way back up to the top again. Nice little time saver. And Samira says, yes, that list views allow you to change fields in bulk too, whereas you can't do that with a report. And that is true. There are some restrictions on that. If there are multiple record types, then it gets a bit harder, and we'll talk about that later on. So we're going to create our first list view, and I'm going to race through this because we have already covered it. Inside your org, this is for accounts. Let's think about the use case. She wants to see all her channel customers. So that tells us that she's going to just be looking at accounts. So we're going to click on the accounts tab, and it will open up our recently viewed accounts with a few standardized fields here. And if we click on the drop-down list, we can see all the other list views that we have access to. And you'll notice there isn't one for the channel customers. So we're going to create that. So to do that, there are a number of different options here on the right-hand side. When you are looking at a list view, you can search a list. If you've got a really, really long list of accounts and you want to just search it, you know there's an account in here that should be in here, you can just search for it straight away, or you can search at the top. There are multiple ways that Salesforce allows you to search. Then here you've got your Kanban view, which we talked about before. You've got a refresh button. And what that does is ensures that because your list view is actually just a query, right? So refreshing this basically reruns the query and goes and gets any other information that's in the system that meets the criteria of your list view. Then if you want to change if you want to edit edit some data, then you can just hit the pencil button. And that will allow you to inline edit the data that's shown in the list view. If you want to have some fun, you can import. Some of you may have found that button already and had some fun with it. And then the most important one is our list view controls, which is our cog here. And if we click on our cog, we get the option to create a new list view. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to create a list called channel customers in proper case. Then you'll notice that you can see 3 different sharing options here. You've got only I can see this list view. That makes it a personal list view, right? So we were talking about how list views are personal, Betsy. If you tick this box, tick this button, it only means that you can only see it. Then you have two other options. You have all users can see this list view, and that makes it a public list view. But it also means that if you have any customers that are logging in to a portal that is attached to Salesforce, then you can then it also means that those users will see this list view as well. So you want to be really careful about it. Then you have the option to share a list view with certain groups of users, and this is where you get to be a bit more interesting. You have a few more interesting options, and you have to consider things like your role hierarchy. So Tara asked, do you have to have a sharing framework in place already for your org? You don't, unless you want to use this third option. If you want to use this third option just to share with certain groups of users, then you will need to already have your sharing set up in advance. Betsy's asked, does sharing it with other users send it via chatter? No, it doesn't. All it means is that if you share it with other users, they click on the tab, they can see your list view as a selectable option. Whereas if it's private, they won't see it at all. So I'm going to make this, so what does it say in here? It says all users can see this list view. So I'd like you to just make sure that you've got the second option selected so that all your users can see this view, and then hit save. And because this is a brand new list view, it's going to load it up. And you'll be able to see that by default, you have a set of columns that are given to you. And you also have a set of filters that are given to you. It usually just comes with one filter, which is my accounts, which means remember we talked about how every record has an owner? Then that means that if you use my accounts as a filter, only the accounts that you own are visible in that view. Thank you for helping each other, guys. You're really good at that. So then then I click save, and it's showing us everything. Now we're going to add a filter, and the filter is going to be, we only want to see channel customers. So we want to go back to our list view, and we want to add a filter. And we want to say that the field we're going to filter on is type, because type is where we keep the fact that it is a channel customer, right? So you have to think about what fields you want to use when you are offering these list views to your users. So we're going to say type equals customer dash channel, and hit done. And then save your criteria. Now that is still only going to show me my accounts that belong to me of type channel customer. And you notice that list has gone right down to 4 of them. You might also notice I can change a few of these attributes. Attributes are like your columns, right? So they're basically fields. Fields and attributes are the same thing. I could actually change that and say that this is based in Minnesota. Notice how that when I've done that, it shows up as yellow. That means I've changed the billing state, but I haven't committed it to the database yet. I'm only committing it to the database when I hit save, and then it goes white and says my changes are saved. So now my list is paired all the way down. Notice how actually, did it tell us to change the filters? Oh, it didn't. So what we also need to do is in our list view, on the right-hand side, you only get these with certain objects, like certain standard objects. You get the options to filter by owner. So all accounts is basically, I don't care who owns them. I just want to see all the channel customers. My account teams could be a list of accounts where you are on the account team. Remember we talked about sharing, giving sharing access to people and putting them on your account team. Then this filter works with that as well. So in this filter, I'm just going to hit all accounts and hit done. And remember, if it's yellow, it's not saved yet. So you've got to save it. And I'll have the same list. That's very good. So let's just say that Erin, when she's going through this list view, she not only wants to see channel customers, but she also only wants to see those on the West Coast. Sorry to our non-US contingent. This is roughly how it goes. So we're going to add another filter where the billing state or province is Washington, Oregon, and California. Yeah, I think I'm good. So we are going to head over into our filter, add a second one, and it's billing state province. So if we just clicking the field list, we're going to be able to find the field that we want to filter by. And we then choose our operator, and our operator could be many things. Okay, so you can have equals, is not equal to, you can say is less than, is greater than. You can say greater or equal to, contains, does not contain, starts with. So I'm just going to leave it as equals. Billy, I think, so Billy's got no tab for accounts. No, it's not because you've missed the last session. It could be that you're in the different apps. So you need to make sure that you are in, if you click the 9 dots in the corner, just type in the word accounts and you should see it come up, and that'll take you straight to the tabs. You won't be able to change equals. You won't be able to change whether these are case sensitive, etc. It's just baked into the application, so you won't need to change that. So we got to find Washington, Oregon. What's the other one that it wants? And California. That's going to find all of those, and it uses a different, it has quite a fancy way of filtering things here. So we can say the billing state equals Washington, Oregon, or California, and it will just come up with Oregon and California, our 2 records there. So let's just check we've got the same results. Yes, we have. Now there's some other cool stuff we can do here as well, and I'm just going to show you this as an aside. You all right there, Billy? Cool. I'm going to show you something else that's pretty good with this, and that is dynamic dates in list views. And you don't get this with reports. This is the only place you get. Is it the only place? I'll come back to that, but there is a very cool thing that you can do in here. Let's say you wanted to see only accounts that were created this quarter or this month. You could put in a filter that says created date equals, and then in capitals, this month. Save it. And everything's disappeared, right? Because all of those accounts were created last month. But the more you narrow these criteria down, the smaller the subset of your data will be, the smaller your query will be, and the quicker it will run. I'll give you that architectural advice for free. And I'm going to have a sip of red wine. Apologies. So now that we have our, so I added that filter and then I took it away just to show you that as an aside. Then I get to choose, once I have created my my filters, I can then choose which fields I want to display there. So if I go back and click out of my filters, I can go back to my cog and I can click select fields to display. And then I can choose, basically anything on the left is a list of the fields that are available to you to add to list views. Now, remember last time we looked at field level security? When we created fields, we were able to choose whether certain profiles should see or touch that field. That field level security is respected here. So if you don't have access to see a field, but you know it's there, the first place to go is to check your field level security, just to make sure that you've got access to that field. Now let's see, what do we need? So we need account site. Right, we've got to take account site out, account owner alias and phone out of the visible fields. So account owner alias, gone. Account site, gone. And phone, gone. Did you see what I did there? I took it out of the visible fields section. So if I save that, you're now only going to see 3 fields in my list view. Then what I would have to do, going back to my select fields to display, is I have to add industry and customer priority instead. So let me find industry. And customer priority is here. I think that's the one we created ourselves, actually. So I save that. I should now have 5 fields. Boom, there we go. So now I've saved it. And then something else that you can do is you can actually change the order in which you want to see these. You can actually have this go in alphabetical order, descending. you can have it going in alphabetical order ascending, meaning that if it's a text field, it will go in alphabetical order. If it is a date field, it will go in date order. So if you sort ascending, it will show the earliest date first. If you sort descending, it will show the latest date first. We talked about the list view being editable. Now we're going to create a donut chart, which some of you really loved a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, just like a pivot on Excel. Only a pivot on Excel, what makes this different is that a list view is just a list. A pivot table on Excel allows you to put groupings and matrices together, like we did the week before last when we looked at the reports and dashboards. So click in the Opportunities tab and select the All Opportunities list view. Let's have some fun with this again. So we're going to go to, and it's possible if you're still in the energy consultation app we created last week, you may not see opportunities in there. No, we do. So I clicked my 9 dots in the top left hand corner and I started typing in opportunities. That's just because that's my preferred way to navigate. Some people just want to hit view all and go and find it. It's up to you. So I'm going to hit opportunities. I'm going to favorite this one because something tells me I'm going to keep coming back into my opportunities. No, so Betsy's asked you, can you group by something here in list views? The answer to that is no, you do that in reports. So we're now going to create a new chart called pipeline total value. So back to our list view, we're going to hit, have we got to create a new one? Oh yeah, we have to select the all opportunities list view. So I'm just clicking where it says recently viewed and then I'm clicking all opportunities. Now, just because, you know, another thing that you can do, which is really cool, click the pin button. So now every time you go on to opportunities, this list will be shown and not the recently viewed list. So we're going to create a new chart called pipeline total value. And we do that just by clicking the little chart box in the right hand corner of the list view. I hope I'm still zoomed in. Yeah. So the list view here, top right hand corner, show charts. I'm clicking that. And what's it called again? Pipeline total value is what we're going to call it. And we're going to change it by clicking the little cog. We're going to tell it to create a, are we going to do a new chart? Yes, we are, sorry. We're going to create a brand new chart. So if you scroll down the chart, you'll see the little cog on the bottom right-hand corner. So we're going to click that. We're going to click new chart. We're going to call it pipeline, not in a shouty way, pipeline total value. This is going to be a donut chart. So we're going to hit that in the chart type. Our aggregate type, so that's what you're adding up as. What's your summary on the chart? What makes the total? So we're going to add it up by amount. So our amount is sum because we don't want to count the number of records in there. We don't want to average out any fields. We actually just want to add fields together. That's what sum means in Salesforce. And we're just going to aggregate the amount. How are we grouping it? By account name. Okay, cool. Okay, so you should only really have to change the chart type, the sum, and the title by the looks of things. And then we hit save. And we shall get a lovely new chart appearing on the right-hand side, which looks pretty much exactly the same as the one before. And if you hover over it, you'll be able to see who your biggest account is with 3.4 million. Though I would imagine that given the amount of data you guys have been adding in for your homework, you'll have far higher figures than what I will have. Which shows your business is booming. And yeah, I've already explained that. And what that means is that when you create that list view chart, you can then use that chart for any list view that you have the permission to see for that object. Okay. So now for our final So now that I've gone through that for you, we're going to go ahead and do it for our own custom list view, which is the challenge at the bottom. So we're going to create a new list view for opportunities, which is called high probability opportunities. So if you remember what to do, we go to our cog and we click new under list view controls. This is going to be called high probability opportunities. Remember we talked about the probability of opportunities being important for salespeople to forecast. We are then going to make sure that all users can see the list view. So we hit the second option, just like we did a moment ago. And you'll notice we just get the bog standard set of fields again. The list should only show opportunities whose stage is proposal and price quote or negotiation review and whose probability is greater than or equal to 50%. Let's have a go. So to do this, I'm going to take, I'm actually going to filter by all opportunities. I'm going to add another filter for stage, because that's where we keep our stage, obviously. And then I'm going to choose proposal, price, quote. What was the other one? Negotiation review. Notice how you can click them both in here. And where the probability is greater than or equal to 50. So add filter. Find probability. The operator is greater or equal. And then we put 50. Just checking. And whose probability is greater than or equal. Okay. Just checking. Right, so we should now have 4. Well, you may have more. But the checking mechanism will look for the metadata rather than the data, so don't worry about it, because it's going to check that you've got your filters in correctly. It's not going to check what results are returned. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and check the challenge. I'm just going to put mine back on so that you can see what I've done here. Woohoo! I got a badge. So congratulations to everybody who got a badge. You make sure you tweet it out. And now I'm going to close that and we're going to go on to the next step. So I clicked at the top and now I'm going to compact layouts. Anybody got any questions before we move on? The badge should come when your challenge has been checked and it's found everything is in order. Yes, so there's a question of okay, so Kat, I think the badge only comes at the end, yeah, but of the whole thing, not just one module. With this one, because this is a hands-on challenge, you get a badge after you pass each hands-on challenge. Whereas in some of the quiz modules where you just do quizzes over and over again, then you get the badge at the end. So Tara, you have a question on filter logic. When we were searching states, we could search all 3 states at once. Yep. Is this always the case? Yes. However, Sitara, if you wanted to search on different states, if we take that example, so when would you use the filter logic? Okay, yeah, that's an excellent question. Let's go back to our channel customers. Now, in this instance, we were asked to filter on where the type is customer and channel and the state is Washington, Oregon, or California. Now, where you would use filter logic, which is, so Tara's talking about this option here, which is the filter logic underneath the filter. So you hit that. notice how it puts a number next to each of your filters. That basically labels it to say this is filter number 1 and this is filter number 2. And then you can add in and or operators and not operators in order to fine tune your results, as it says. So at the moment, what this is looking for, because as standard, everything defaults to and. So in this list view, we're running a query that says we want to see all records in the database that meet the criteria of number 1 and number 2. So it's got to be a customer channel in the type field, and it has to be a billing state or province in the, it has to be WA, OR, or CA in the billing state and province field, right? Now, if we wanted to change this to say, actually, we only want to see customers who are in the channel or customers who are in one of those provinces, okay? So you could actually extend your list to say that I'm only interested in people, so Satara, yes, you got it, that we are looking at a straight and query. This is where we can turn it into an or query. So we could say, notice how I just changed that to or. We could say, I want to see in my list either accounts where the type is customer channel or where the billing state province is one of those 3. Now remember the 2 accounts that we have here. We have Express Logistics and Gene Point. If I save this and change the filter, let's see what it comes back with. I now get a bigger list. Do you see what I mean? So we're seeing we're seeing a 5th account, which is for California, where it doesn't have a type. And this is why your data quality needs to be really good. This is why I wanted you to fill in the list views so that you could understand, fill in the data on your accounts so that you can understand what happens if you don't put data in your system. It means it's harder for these list views to be reliable. So in order to manage that, there are different techniques that we can use to keep data clean and reliable. Or we can actually put in different parameters. If we know that not all of our data is complete, we can, unfortunately, sometimes we have to factor that into our filters. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Sitara? I'm just going to put that back to and just in case we need it later. Okay, marvelous, thank you. So the next thing we're going to do, hopefully you've all passed your challenge now, we're going to look at the next thing, which is called compact layouts. And compact layouts is your first introduction to page layouts that are really, really important part and fun part of configuring Salesforce as an administrator. Your compact layouts control what fields your users see in the highlights panel at the top. Remember I talked to you about how if I click on an account, you see a panel with a certain number of fields at the top, and that you can change that, by the way, and I'll show you how to do that later. Well, we are now at that point. So this is a compact layout. And on our compact layout, we decide what order these fields appear in, but also whether these fields appear or not. It helps people like them because when you first log in, you just want to see, and when you first look at an account, sometimes you just want to see the information that matters to you. Who owns this account? Are they a customer or not? If I want to phone them and I'm going to be phoning them a lot, can I just get to their phone number? Will I visit their website an awful lot? You know what? And we tend to align those with the sorts of questions that your sales managers would be interested in. If we would say to sales managers, when you go through an account with somebody, what's the first thing you want to know? And they go, oh, I want to know what industry it is, and your revenues, how many employees, you know, how much have we sold to them, etc. These are all fields you can create and add to this layout, just to give people that really quick glance, at a glance view. So to get to this, so there are a couple of different layouts that you can have on an object. You can have compact layouts and you can have page layouts. And there are separate compact layouts for each object. So you'll have one for opportunities, you'll have one for accounts, etc. So in this instance, we're looking at an opportunity and we can see on the highlights panel, we can see the account name, the close date, the amount, and the owner. The idea is you try and keep this to as few fields as possible, so as not to overwhelm people when they're looking at the record, because you can also always hover over the data. So you notice how the mouse is hovered over the account name for this opportunity, and up pops the account compact layout as well. This just enables you to get a very, very quick at a glance view without having to click through everything and open a million browser windows. So they also control how records display in the mobile app. So if you use the mobile app, which is great, I use it all the time actually, then you can actually help, because the aim with using a mobile is to focus experience on what's called a micro moment. People don't want to spend ages going on phones necessarily, because they've got, especially if they're out on the road and they've got somewhere to be, you want to make it as quick an experience for them as possible. So we use compact layouts, which just presents the most important fields, so they can tap, 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 type, done, finished. Off they go on to the next meeting. So here's a sample compact layout edit page for the account object. So as you will see here, and in fact, this is how we will get to it. If we go back to our org and go to our accounts tab here, I actually prefer to go in this way. I like to open up the backstage door by clicking on the setup menu and then hitting edit object, and that will take me directly to the account object so that I can start making changes to it. And in this object, you will notice the same menu down to the left where you get your fields and your layouts and your validation rules and your buttons and all of those lovely things. Notice how I'm in the account object. There's an option for compact layouts. Okay, Fatima, you saying that, hang on, let me look. I don't have access to the edit object, but I'm going the long way. Okay, if you want to go the long way, that's fine. Just click on the cog and go to setup and then go to the object manager, find accounts, and then you're there. So you'll notice there's a system default for the compact layout. If we click that, we just get given this page, which allows us, okay, yeah, sorry, I have to clone it. Everyone gets like a standard page with all the standard fields given to you. So if you want to change it, you actually have to clone the existing one. Now you may notice that this screen looks a bit different to the one you had before. Salesforce are in the process of upgrading its platform, and what this is doing is it's looking through to the old Salesforce and exposing it through here, but the concepts are the same. So we are going to create, let me just see what this challenge is, right? So what does it want us to do? We're going to do it with opportunities in a minute. Okay. So in our task, what we want to do for our compact layout, do you remember last week when we made the energy audits? Don't worry, we can just do this with accounts. For our compact layouts, what we have to do is clone the existing one, and we'll just call this accounts. And then we can choose which fields we want to bring over. So, for example, I'm not fussed about putting a billing address in there. Don't need to see it. But I don't really need to see account site either. But I probably want to see which what its parent is, and I probably want to see its their website. So I just noticed I just took a couple of things out there and just save it. Just the same as we did for the list views when we dropped our fields in. We selected our fields to display. It's you take from one and put in the other. And then what we have to do is assign this compact layout. So, and because with Salesforce, you get the flexibility of choosing who gets to see what compact layout, what page layout goes with what. So what we have to do here is actually tell Salesforce that when we look at an account compact layout, we don't want to see the one that Salesforce has just given us. We want to see our one that we've created ourselves. So we hit that and we just go save. And let's have a look at the effect on that. So Notice how in the highlights here, you've got the account type, phone, website, account owner, site, and industry. If I just refresh this page, I should now see a smaller number of fields. There we go. Type, website, owner, industry, parent, and annual revenue. The site isn't there anymore, and the billing address isn't there anymore, and the phone number is not there anymore. And that was it. It's just a very simple change. So what we're going to do for our hands-on challenge is we're going to create a custom opportunity compact layout. So the story is that when the salespeople from Ursa Major Solar are on site with a customer, there are only a few fields they need to see. So we're going to create a new compact layout for the opportunity object, and make sure you use the same label, please, ladies and gents. So I'm just going to copy that because the checking systems are very, very accurate here. So we have to make sure that they exactly match. I'm going back to Object Manager, and I'm going to use Quick Find because I'm lazy and I don't want to scroll down. And I'm just going to type OPP, and that will give me all the objects that I have the access to change. And I'm going to hit Opportunity. And where am I going to go next? I'm going to go to Compact Layouts. And I can see the system default there, and I don't really like it, so I'm going to hit New. Now in your label, just paste what it said on Trailhead. So new OPPTY compact layout. Now what fields do we need to put in? Let's have a look. Opportunity name, probability, close date, stage, amount, owner. Okay. So we want the name. We want the probability. We want the close date. We want the stage. We want the amount. And we want the opportunity owner. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can change the order that they appear in if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it for this task. It just means you can do it another time. And hit save. Okay. Will this, when I go and look at my opportunity now, will I see this layout? No. And why won't I see this layout? What's the next thing I have to do? That's right, I haven't told it to. How do I tell it to? Yep, I have to make it default. What do I do to do that? Yeah, that's correct, Betsy. And Samira, we have to assign, and Adam, we have to assign it to a profile, and Kat as well. Thank you for that. So we have to click Compact Layout Assignment, and then we have to make it the default. So we edit the assignment, and we change it to New Opportunity Compact Layout. Hit Save. Always go and check to make sure it's worked. Can't think of why it wouldn't, but it's just good practice. So I'm going to my opportunities. Always remember what object you were on. Been lots of times I created a list view and then gone, oh, where's it gone? And it's because I'm looking at the wrong, I'm completely looking at the wrong object. Okay, so I'm opening up any old opportunity. Now I've got the probability. We're looking at the opportunity object, Hannah. So I've got the probability, I've got the close date, I've got the stage, I've got the amount, and I've got the owner. Okay. So if you're with me, come along and check your challenge. Woo! I've got a shiny new badge. I wonder if I'm getting the badge because it's a retake and I've done it before. I bet that's what it is. Okay, Hannah, you lost again. So remember what we were doing is creating compact layouts. So we go to our setup, into Object Manager, find the opportunity object. So in the quick find, I just put OPP, and then it came up with opportunity. So I just clicked on opportunity, and then I clicked on compact layouts. And I created a new opportunity OPPTY compact layout. And then I added in the fields that I wanted, which are in the chat. So you have the 6 fields. Yep, I'll go back a step for you. So under Object Manager, I went to Opportunity, and you see on the list on the left, you've got the menu, details, fields, page layouts, record pages, etc. And then you've got compact layouts. Can't find opportunity in the Object Manager. It should be there. Are you looking? Have you gone in through the setup menu, or have you gone in through the dots? So you need to go to Setup first of all, and then find Object Manager, and then Opportunity. Okay, and then go to Compact Layouts on the left, and then click New. Okay, so you found opportunity, so click on it, and then click on the Compact Layouts on the left. Okay, are we there? Cool. And then you just create your new layout, which is New Opportunity Compact Layout, but make sure you spell it abbreviated, otherwise it will kick off. And then you add in the fields. There's the 6 fields that you need to add, which is opportunity name. So I just clicked on the one I want, and then I click the little triangle to say add, or I click the other one to remove. Okay, so make sure you add them all in this order: opportunity name, probability, close date, stage. You have to scroll down, Hannah. It will be a bit further down under O. Is it already selected? If it's not showing in the left-hand side, it's possibly because it's on the right-hand side already. Yeah. So there'll be some fields that you have to take away. There'll be others that you have to add. So usually opportunity name is usually there first, because that is the unique identifier for that object. So that's you. So if I try and take opportunity name away, it would usually kick off, or should do. Oh, Gemma learned something. Okay. Oh, I do like school days. I'm putting that back because I don't want to break it. Okay, hopefully everybody's there, up to speed. Cool. So once we've done that, hopefully you will be able to pass that module. So make sure that when you save it, after you've saved your layout, you then go to Compact Layout Assignment. Okay, so once your fields are added in, hit Compact Layout Assignment. Sorry, do I need to slow down, guys? Just tell me if I do. Okay, no problem. Happy to slow down. I'll give you a minute then while I go and get a quick drink of water. Also, don't forget, guys, if you do want to come back and use the recording later, then you're able to yeah, you're able to pause it and rewind it and fast forward if you want to. So yeah, so apologies everybody. Okay, Hannah, have you got to the point where you've saved it? Have you added your fields? Okay, so for those of you who are up to that part, the next thing to do is to assign your layouts. So you have to click Compact Layout Assignment. And then you click Edit Assignment. And then you change your primary compact layout from system default to being the one that you just made. And then you click Save. Okay. Right, well done, everybody. So when you're ready, just come back to your trailhead and click Check Challenge. And hopefully you should all have your, you should all get your confetti by that point. I'll just put my watch on so I keep an idea of the time. For those who are following through recording, thank you for bearing with us. I don't mind if you want to skip through. Okay. So the next bit we're going to do is page layouts. Is everyone ready for this? Because this is real fun. I like this one. Aha. So Jeremy's asked, where does the change page layout show? My playground looks the same. So it will show, because you're not changing the layout itself, you're changing the highlights panel. So what you need to do is make sure that, first of all, you have gone to your Opportunities tab. And that you then click on an opportunity, any opportunity that you like. And you will see that your new page layout, your new compact layout, the fruits of your labor, is shown across the top here. It's where it says Burlington Textiles Weaving Plant Generator. I can see probability, close date, stage, amount, and owner. Aha, yes. So remember, this is your compact layout. Your compact layout is the highlights panel. And it's also the hover panel. Yeah, I know. It got distracted by the pretty bar. This is called path, isn't it? So we configure that somewhere a bit differently. Okie dokie, is everyone ready for page layouts? Just to contextualize this, when we talk about page layouts, we're talking about something very, very specific. No, it's okay, Hannah, don't worry, I'm not going to move off this page, so we're good. How do we get to where you're looking now? Okay, so what we do is, I had two windows open. One window is the backstage area, and the other window is my front stage area. So I went to my front stage area and went to the Opportunities tab and just clicked on it. And if you can't find it, as we said earlier, just click your 9 dots in the corner. This is how you look for things front stage. You go to your 9 dots in the corner and just start typing opportunity. And you should see, under apps, you'll get no results, but under items, it should say opportunities. And then you're able to click on that. And then I favorited my opportunities tab so that I could get to it as and when I want to. So I just hit the little star at the top to add it to favorites. Then I clicked on one single opportunity, so like the first one in the list. And then what we were looking at for our compact layouts, the compact layout is just this bit at the top with the highlights on it, where it says probability, close date, stage, amount, and owner. That's the list view, the compact layout that we just made. And notice when I hover over my name, we're looking at the compact layout for the user. And when we hover over any other links in Salesforce, so I'm going to go to details, and when we hover over the account, we get the account compact layout. Okay, does everybody understand what compact layouts are for now? Okay, cool. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Yeah, so they're your highlights and they're your hovers. Highlights and hovers is where your compact layouts are. Okay, so now we're going to talk about page layouts. Page layouts are different from compact layouts, and they're different from lightning page layouts, okay? So there are 3 types of layouts that you need to be aware of. Compact layouts are the easiest, which is your highlights panel, highlights and hovers, which we just went through the process of setting up. Lightning pages is basically where all these blocks and boxes appear on the page itself, on this screen, okay? So that's a lightning page. A lightning page is where you say, over here is where all my related lists are going to sit. Over here, we're going to have 3 tabs, and on each tab, we're going to have different things. Now, page layouts is what is actually on the record detail. So when I click details, I get this layout here, which is where all my fields are sitting. And these are the page layouts that we're going to be talking about now. So a lot of the battle with Salesforce is around terminology. Lightning pages is the whole screen. Compact layouts are the top of the screen and your hovers and your highlights. And page layouts are your record detail layouts, which is what you're looking at here, which is where you put your fields when you create your fields the other day. Okay? Does everyone remember that? Because I'll probably test you again at the end. So, so we are going to change this layout here. Okay. And to do that, I'm going to just go on to the next part. Yeah, so your page layout details. Now, can anybody guess how we're going to change these? Can anyone guess where we go? Yes, we do go backstage. Do you know where? Set up an object manager. Yes, that's correct. Now, with page layouts, you can create, that's correct, page layouts. You can create lots of different page layouts per object, and your page layouts are made object by object. I know that sounds like really to explain. What you see when you log into Salesforce for the first time is your lightning page, okay, where you can customize and personalize many things. Now, what page layout does is it helps you to manage the content of your pages. So where your fields exist, where your fields are, you can put links and buttons on, you can put charts on, you can put all sorts of stuff on there. And the page layout editor allows you to control which fields are seen, which fields are mandatory, which fields are, which logical sections they belong to, whether they are visible, whether they're read-only, whether they're required. And also you can determine which fields appear in related lists as well. Okay, so this is where it's going to get fun for you. We can also control which actions appear on the page. So you're thinking, oh God, there's so much to think about. Most of your time as a Salesforce administrator is spent configuring these little bad boys. And once you've actually got used to the idea of it, it's actually really easy to do. So let's take a look at what these tabs are. Remember, I talked about this being a lightning page, this being the whole of the record. So you're looking at a contact or you're looking at an opportunity. You know, the block here for activities and details is one part of a lightning page. The related lists is another part of the lightning page. Go away. This bit here in the tutorial is just showing you like what are the different components of a lightning page. So I'm going to skip past that. We are going to configure the fields that show in your record details. Now let's do what you guys have already know we need to do. So if you look at Natasha, Natasha's latest comment is where you go to configure your page layout. So we're going to go ahead and create a new page layout for, do we have a challenge for this? No, it's just a quiz. Ah, that's interesting. Right, we're just going to follow along with this then. So let's go to our opportunity, first of all, back to where we were before when we created our compact layouts and we assigned them. On the left-hand side, third option down, you've got page layouts. So we're going to click on that. Every object comes with a standard layout, and it just happens that with Trailhead Playgrounds it's slightly different. They give you like 4 of them. We're most interested in we're actually going to create our own layout for this, just to make it a bit easier. And it's a similar concept as your compact page layout. You've got to go and you've got to edit or create your new one, and then you've got to assign it to the right people and the right profiles at the right time. So we're going to start by creating a new opportunity layout, and we just hit new. Now what we can do is we can clone it from an existing one, right? So if you're happy with one particular page layout and how everything's laid out there, then you can actually make a copy of it. Now give it a name. I'm just going to call this Gemma's page layout. Gemma's op page layout, not law pit. And I'm going to save it. And what this will do is just copy and paste the existing opportunity page layout. And there are a number of different things that you can do on this page. So it's going off and writing off to the servers and saying, can you take this and make a copy of it? And then it will display it on the page. Here we go. Right. Now, remember your highlights panel? Your highlights panel is where your compact layout is. A feed-based layout is if you want to create a view which is very much based around chatter, cat, something to play with a bit later. We just for these purposes we just go nice and straightforward for this one. Okay. Sorry. So you'll notice when you open up the page layout, it's kind of divided into sections, and the first section is also subdivided. You have noticed how the word fields is highlighted here. This is where you get a list of all the fields that are available to you on the opportunity. So it also means that if you scroll down a bit, you can take certain fields off. Let's say I don't care about primary campaign source. I can just pick it up and drag it to take it off. There's another way I can take the field off the page layout. I can use this little no entry sign here just to remove it. I'm going to remove lead source. I noticed that when I did that, all the fields that are grayed out here are used on the page, and you can see where they're used by clicking on it because it then highlights it in yellow. If it's not on the page layout, then it shows up as available to pick up. Okay, so I'll put my lead source back on, and I just drag it down, and as soon as I get a little yellow tick, I can just drop it. Making sense so far? What else can I do with this, with the fields section? Well, I can actually, if you notice I hover over a field, there's 2 things appear. Yeah, sure, I can show that again. So in this top view here, I get a list of all the fields that are available on the object that I have access to. And what I can do is, you notice how they're shown in different ways. Some fields are grayed out. So if I click up here, I can't do anything with them, right? All it does is just highlight the name. But notice that below it flashes yellow. That's because it's telling me where on the page it actually is, okay? So I can find it. I also can pick up and drag. So all I did was just click my mouse and held it down, and then I dragged that field down. And that enabled me to put it on the page layout, okay? Remember, it's not saved at the moment. If I come out of this, I've lost the fact that I've put forecast category on the page. Make sense? Something else I can do, I can pick it up and drag it back out of there. Okay, there are other little shortcuts that you can do. My preferred way of doing it is by using some of these options here. Excuse me. So what I can do is pick up, what I tend to do, and I've got myself into a routine with this after 12 years, is I just pick up and drag. And then if I want to remove it, I just use this little no entry sign icon here, and that will take it off the page layout. Now, some of these fields have got spanners next to them as well, and that opens up a brand new menu called properties. So if I click on lead source, where it says lead source and where it says type, if I click on the spanner, in fact, I can also click on it once, press down shift and click on the second one to highlight 2 fields, and then click the spanner. Oh, look, I can make those fields read only. I can also make them required. Earlier in the course, when I talked about field level security, and I said you could actually create, when you create a custom field, you can describe whether it should be required or not. And I said that actually I don't often do that. I only do that under certain situations. For example, if someone says, oh, that has to be mandatory, and I will tend to say, does it have to be mandatory for everybody? And if they say yes, then fine, I will tick the box that says this field is required when I'm creating the field. But if they say actually no, finance shouldn't have to fill this in, then I ask the next question, which is, well, do finance need to see it? Do they need to see the information that's held in that field but not change it? And they say yeah. So what that means is I can then use field level security. Do you see what I mean? Because then I use one page layout, I show the field, and then on the finance profile, I say that field is only read only. Whereas if it's read only for everybody, and I've got code running in the background that could affect that field, then that's when it also gets a bit fiddly, and I have to think with my holistic hat on. I have to think about, okay, what else do I know is going on in this org? Have I got automations flying around all over the place that rely on data being filled in for this field? Classic example, a few years ago, I had built a timesheet cost calculation system inside Salesforce. So this was for a consultancy firm. They were creating assignments, and on the assignment, they had to say where they were doing the work. And sometimes they would be doing work in a different place to where the project is being billed from, okay? So that meant that money had to fly into different accounts and had to be accounted for correctly. But it also affected their cost rate. So, and their cost rate came in through timesheets. So as they entered the number of hours, it took hours times rate equals cost. I know it's horrible, but I then had to write a formula that changed the cost rate based on whether the person doing the work was in the same location as the project or not. Because if it was in a different location, then they got charged, then their cost rate was lower. Whereas if it was in the same location and it wasn't the same location that that person belongs to, it had to cost more. So there's all kinds of horribleness that I had to build for that. And in order to do it, guess what field I need to know? Guess what field needs to be filled in? Project location and person location. Some bright spark decided to take the person location field off the page layout. So, and it stayed on there for 6 months. 6 months. And they carried on billing their customers, and they submitted their management accounts, and they couldn't understand why they had lost so much money compared to last year when they ran the results. And it was purely because the timesheets were relying on that information being entered onto the assignment, and the field wasn't there. So if the field wasn't there on the page layout, how could they fill it in? So all of the cost rates defaulted to on-site cost rates and were therefore a lot lower. And that was just the impact of that. So guess who had to go through and update everybody's timesheets and everybody's assignments and give them a bit of a slap on the wrist and say, if you remove that again, I will castrate you. I had to do that. So this is where these required settings can be extremely useful. Yes, balls will roll. Yes, indeed. And they soon learned and never did it again. But this is people's business systems running off this, right? And it can have a profound impact. So you have to think very carefully about how you're going to design these things, and also think very carefully about who you're going to give the keys to your org. So let's say I want to make these 2 fields required. All I have to do is just tick the checkbox at the top here. If I want to make them read only for the page layout, so anybody who has this page layout assigned to them, those fields are only read only. But for this instance, I'm going to make these 2 fields required for anyone who has access to this page layout. I'll click out. Hit OK. Now, it's important, just something to get yourself Yes. So Jeremy said, when you build a rule like that, does it generate errors if fields needed are missing? That's something you can write into that, absolutely. But also you are still reliant on. We did put some validation rules around that as well, but still some of those validation rules were kicking off. But the question came up because they said, "Oh, I'm getting this error," and I've just been working around it. So a lot of the time you should ideally build errors into these things. And also remember as well that, you know, your end users don't necessarily realize just how configurable Salesforce is. Sometimes they think it's just a platform error and that it cannot be fixed by you or by anyone else. And often we get called in as consultants, we get called in because something's broken, but they don't know where it is and how to fix it. They just don't know how to go about it, and that's perfectly fine. But for the fact that as consultants, we also need to educate and document what we write so that people and what we build, we can start that by using descriptions in the fields. And in those descriptions, what I encourage my team to do is to write down, if I'm creating a field, write down if this field is used for, if this field needs to be required for certain people, if it's used to drive an automation, if it's used in any code, if it's used in any integrations with other systems. So if data in that field is then copied and pasted over the internet into another system, you need to know about that. And you know, all of those kind of things, it's a good opportunity for you to document that in your descriptions. It's tedious, it's boring, but once you've done it once, it gets deployed into production, and then you know, you just go from there anyway. But yes, so page layouts. So I just made these two fields required. Hopefully you were able to follow along with that. If I want to take fields away, which I think I will, because I don't need this private box here, I can just hold my mouse down until it's blue and then move it up into this field section here and drop it, and that means it's gone. Now, good habit to get yourself into is to save as you go, because if your internet drops and you're halfway through doing this, and this has happened to me before when I've done loads of fields and sections and then I've not saved it and I've had to start all over again, it's really annoying. So click quick save as you go. If you click save, it will take you out of your page layout completely. So don't click save until you're ready to actually play with it. Just if you're still changing, if you've just done a couple of changes here and there, just click quick, get into the habit of clicking quick save after. You can preview, so you can preview as different profiles. Remember I said that you could make fields invisible at a profile level. This feature allows you to preview what this page would look like with someone of that profile. Other properties that you can change the name, and you can change, these are two quite old settings now, that for the old style console, so I wouldn't worry about those too much just now. But you can change the name of your layout. Okay, other things to note. In the fields section, there are two other things that I haven't mentioned yet. Can anyone highlight them? Okay, I haven't talked about sections, and I haven't talked about quick find, correct? Quick find's really useful if you've got a lot of fields. And I haven't talked about blank spaces. Now, it's very easy to get OCD about sections. Don't worry, Alicia, we've covered it. It's very easy to get a bit OCD about page layouts. I know it's one of admin's favorite things to do generally. Once you've created all your fields, arranging them and organizing them into nice sections is the fun part. So what I like to do with sections is to try and group them together logically. Let me show you how I do it with contacts. You don't have to follow along for this one. I'm just going to show you. Let me show you how I do it with contacts, because this I find a bit easier to conceptualize. And no matter what page layout I'm on, you still get the same, the page layout navigator, editor still looks the same for every object. Okay, so you've still got this whole section here. Now, one of the things I like to do with contacts, this is a standard contact page layout. And on this layout, you get bunched together like your owner, your name, your title, your department, your birth date, your lead source, you know, your home, all your phone numbers, etc., etc. You always get an address section, which I tend to leave as it is. And then you have like an additional information section. And then you have your system information section. What I like to do with contacts is I like to create a whole new section, which is about this person's, like how to get hold of this person. So what I do here is I click on here where it says section, and I drag it down and I create a brand new section. And when I drop it, I get this little pop-up that says, what do we want to call this name, this section name? So I'm going to call it contact details. Another thing I like to do is to change the tone of an org to be friendly and conversational so that people can build up their trust in it. And say, and sometimes I like to name my sections as questions and say, how do I get in touch with this person? Then you have a couple of options. You can display this section header on the detail page, which is what you see when you're viewing a record. And you can change, and you can also choose whether you show this section on your edit page, which is what you see when you edit a record. You can then change whether it's a single column or a 2-column section. So a single column, I'll show you that in a minute. I'll show you what you would use a single column for. Generally, I tend to use 2-column sections if it's just fields. If I'm creating one big text field, though, I will tend to put that in a section all by itself so that it fills up the page and it's easier for people to write. Then I hit OK. And now I've got a brand new section, which is called How Do I Get in Touch with This Person? Then what I can do is I can pull all my phone numbers. So what I've done here is I've clicked on mobile with my left mouse button. I've held down Shift, and then I've clicked into fax with my left mouse button, and that's highlighted all 3 of those numbers. And then I'm just going to drag them down here. Oh, look, 2 more phone numbers. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to drag them down here. So here are all my phone numbers on one side of the screen. If that person, then there's the email address and the assistant details. Oh, I think I'll drag that down here. Another thing you might want to do, especially given the law around consent in California and in coming up in Australia, I believe, and has been in Europe for a couple of years now, is the privacy laws. You can't hold details about a person unless they've given explicit consent. So what people tend to do is create a field that says email opt-in, email opt, and before that, people used to say it was the other way. People had to opt out, so they were in until they said don't email me. Whereas now, the rules are you've got to say email. You can email me. So you'll want to pull in these 2 fields here, which is your email opt-out and your do not call, and that enables you to show compliance with those laws. Now I've just created a whole new section. So if my internet drops right now, I'm screwed. It's forgotten. It will forget all about that section. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click quick save. And now that section will be there. And just to prove it, I'm going to go to a contact record in the front stage area. And I'm going to open up Kathy Snyder. Oh, God. And I'm going to look at the details, because that's where my page layout changes will be. And look, I've got this new section. How do I get in touch with this person? And that's just because I quick saved it in the background. So you can do this. You can kind of flip back and forth. So Jeremy says, can something like phone, where people could have a few or many contacts, be set up where there is a table instead of field placeholders for phone numbers? You would have to create a custom object for that, Jeremy, which isn't really ideal, because then you still have to say what's the active phone number. And the question as well that I would have for that would be around, what's the point of me keeping the old phone numbers? And there are multiple ways that Salesforce handles this depending on what kind of package you're using as well. I use their non-profit package as well. Yeah, you can. So you have your cell phone, your office, your home, etc. As you'll see, you get a load of fields out of the box here. So you get a phone, which you would use for Office. You have mobile, which you would use for cell phone. You have other phone. If you wanted to, you could actually add another phone. You can you could add custom fields of type phone and add like the pager if you want to, and the fax. Well, that you get a fax number as well anyway. So yeah, you could add some more of those. It's better not to use them as a table. It's better to use them as fields, I would say. Because the other advantage of doing it as well is Salesforce sometimes, I mean, there are some companies that actually have soft phones integrated with Salesforce. So if it's a phone field, they can often click on that and it will actually start the phone call from Salesforce as well. So there are numerous advantages to doing it that way. Okay. Let's say, when would you use blank spaces? Okay, so blank spaces is where you want to create a logical gap between certain concepts, right? So if I was to say, what can I do there? Let me pull that fax opt out, right? So you notice how I've got my fields here. And I wanted to, let's say I wanted to organize these in a slightly different way so that I kept all the phone numbers consistent and I kept everything else consistent as well. Notice how I've got email assistant and then the 3 opt-outs there. And then I've got all the phone numbers there. It might bother me looking at it structured that way. And what I might want to do is have the do not call up here. I might want to have do not call. Where have I gone and put it? Oh, I've got rid of it. I might want to have do not call here, and I might want to have email opt out under here, and I might want to have fax opt out under here. Now let's say I actually want to just looking at these. I've got a great big load of white space over here, and then I've got all this other stuff over here. I can use blank spaces to kind of split them out a little bit within the section. It's purely personal preference as to what you think is easiest to do. Okay, so I'm not going to save all that because I get funny about my page layout sometimes. It is definitely for alignment, yeah. Okay, so another thing that I like to do, you notice how some of these sections are shown in bold and purple because this is the contact layout, it's purple. If it's the opportunity layout, it'll be gold. If it's the account, it'll be blue. Remember from the icons? I'm really sad. Well, notice how there are certain things here. You know how this section, we know here that there's a section here for address information. Let's look at the record itself. Where it says, how do I get in touch with this person? Where's the section? There's no section showing here for mailing address. It just goes straight to mailing address, straight to other address, straight to languages, straight to level, straight to system information. But if I look at it behind the scenes, these are all split into their own sections. It's because their headers are not visible. The headers are not visible unless you edit the record. So this is the detail view. What happens if I edit this? With the right button, of course. If I scroll down, I should start seeing these sections. So how do I get in touch with this person? Okay, I'm talking rubbish. So how can I make these sections appear differently? I can, yes, it is just to add a subtitle. So what I like to do with addresses is I like to show them on detail pages as well. I'm just fussy like that. So I hit quick save and then come back and refresh. I should now see the addresses in their own section. I need some more water. Okay, back to my detail view. There's my address information. Languages and level is still shown in that same section. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to I went to the section properties, and I'm just going to tick it as detail. Again, if I want to remove this section, I can. If I want to make them visible on detail level, I can hit OK and quick save. and refresh again, and I should see the 3 new sections. I like it too. It is much clearer. But yes, you're right. It is just to add logical sections together, and certainly for orgs where there are a lot of integrations going on, the system information section is an area that I like to kind of keep at the bottom and, you know, tucked away so that administrators can see it when they need to without having to make changes to the layout. But also that these sections can be hidden away as well. So if users think they're seeing too much, you can just say, look, if you just hide that. If you're not interested in it, just hide it. Okay. And it just splits the information up a little bit and makes it easier to read and spreads it out. And certainly with things like opportunities, I tend to split them out as this is information about the opportunity. This is information about how I plan to sell. This is information about the money. This is information about the forecast, you know, and it just helps to split things up a bit. So, okay. Now the other thing that you can do, right, oh, that's good. That's covered all of that live. So let me talk to you about these icons as well. And this is really important as well. I'll go back to the opportunity for this one because we had more of these icons here. On the opportunity, there are certain fields that have to be completed every time. And those fields are typically the close date, the name. The name has to be filled in for pretty much everything. The close date, the name, and the stage are 3 mandatory fields. I mean, if I try and take the stage off, it says no. Computer definitely says no. If I try and take the close date off, it says no. If I try and take the name off, it says no. But if I try and take the type off, I can do that, right? That's because that's a mandatory requirement for the opportunity itself that is mandated by Salesforce. Okay, so there are different things that are on here that you really should include now, and these are indicated by little icons. So your little red star means that you have to fill in the data. So it's made it a mandatory field on the page layout, but it doesn't have to be on the page layout. The blue circles are the ones where you can't take them off the layout because Salesforce has mandated, right? So you see, I tried to pick that up and drop it and it goes, no. That's because it has a blue circle. If I try and take probability off, that also goes. And I've had many customers ask me to take probability off because they don't use it, they don't care. But it does have to be on there. What are the other ones? Then we have okay, so then we have read only. So if a field is shown as read only, then you like expected revenue is read only. You have a little padlock there. Can I change that? No. Expected revenue is one of those special fields which is dictated at platform level. So Salesforce have said if you fill in the expected revenue, the expected revenue is only calculated by Salesforce. Samira has asked, can you hide from their view via profiles? Yes. And the way you do that is 2 ways. One, you can hide the fields at field level security. If you think they should never, ever see those fields or be able to touch those fields, then you can either make them read only or you can hide them at field level. What you can also do is create different versions of page layouts for different profiles or different permission sets. And this is quite typical of finance. If you create an account which has, this is the general ledger, accounts payable account, and it will have like a 4-digit code and the financial planning pot that the money goes into. There might be a supplier reference number. There might be a procurement. There might be a whole load of procurement fields and stuff that you don't need to show people. You could give finance their own profile, which has all of their own page layout, which has all the stuff they need to know about accounts that no one else cares about, laid out in a way that works for them. And you would then assign that page layout to that finance profile. So that's how you would do that. Does that answer your question? Okay. And then finally, out of this list of icons as well, there are two that we don't see here, which is called controlling field and dependent field. And this is a really cool thing that you can do with pick lists. Imagine if you have a region field, and in that pick list field, you have Northeast, Southwest, Midwest, basically a bunch of American regions. And you wanted to make it so that you could only select those regions if you selected the US from the country pick list, then that's what you would use dependent pick lists for. And dependent pick lists are a very cool way of saying if you select this from this field, then you can only select a smaller number of options from the second pick list. Does that make sense? Happy to go through that a bit later. And if you've got fields that control or have a dependency on one another, correct, it is like adding a conditionality to fields, then you'll be able to see that on the page layout itself. It will actually tell you where you've got two fields that are dependent on each other. Other smart thing you can do is with dependent pick lists, you could make the second dependent pick list required on the page layout, but actually bypass it if you haven't selected something that drives the other. Oh my God, I explained this so badly. We can try that in a bit. So we're going to go and create, in our last 25 minutes, we're going to go ahead and do some page layouts. Yep. And we're going to do it based on our energy audit. Remember, we made an energy audit object last week. If you haven't, don't worry about it. You can still follow along with another object. We're going to do it very basically with fields at the moment because I don't want to overwhelm you with the other stuff just yet, because we're going to come to it. So if I just created that layout, what's the next thing I've got to do, everybody? I've got to assign it, correct. So I've got to go page layout assignment and then choose the profiles that I'm going to give this page layout to. And you can see straight away that this is the layout that everybody in my org has got. So everybody except marketing, sales and support have got a standard opportunity layout. Marketing have got their own layout, sales have got their own layout, and support have their own layout. Similar concept. Now, if I want to make it so that, I want to deploy my new layout, all I have to do is just click the profile I want to add it to, select the layout, and make it Gemma's op page layout. Save it, and then I will see the new layout straight away. So we're going to go back to our custom object that we created the other day, which is called Energy Audit. And to do that, we're backstage, and we're going to go to the Object Manager. And we're going to find our Energy Audit object. You can either find it by scrolling down or by typing in the quick find. And I'm just going to click on it here. And I just get the same view as I would always have. This is the custom object that we created last week. And we're going to go to our page layouts. And we're going to see that when we created the object, we got one standard energy audit layout that came with it. So to get to it, I can either click the drop down and hit edit, or I can just click on the name. And it will open up the page layout editor. And if you notice, all those fields are all grayed out because they're all automatically added from when we created the object last week. So now what we've got to do is smarten this up a bit. So we are going to create a new layout from scratch. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. Now that we've clicked into the page layout, I'm going to show you a way to do it without having to come out of it. I'm just going to make a copy of the new layout name, which is Energy Audit Sales Layout. And then I'm just going to go to Save and Save As. And look, it's going to make a copy of it. So I don't want it to do that. I'm going to change the name to be what the Trailhead badge says it should be. and then I'm going to save it. And what that does is it clones it clones the standard layout that we've created and just creates a new one. So if I then click in the drop down, I can now see two. I've got energy audit layout and energy audit sales layout. Hope you're with me. So then if I scroll down, they look exactly the same. And we are going to scroll down to the energy audit details section. Right. Yeah. So we're going to move audit notes and type of installation to the right column above owner. So audit notes. And type of installation go above owner. Let me just check. Yep. And then we're going to hit, then we're going to put account below energy audit name, which it should be there. Then click quick save. Yeah, exactly. Quick save. So Abirami, what we did was opened up a layout, and then we went to the save button here and we did save as, and we just gave it a new name, and then that created a clone that we could work on. Okay, so the next thing we have to do, guys and girls, is because it's a custom object, it doesn't have any related lists yet. So let's go and add some. So we're going to scroll down to the related lists section and we're going to drag files over. Okay, so we scroll down a bit. Here's our related lists. We have two. We have open activities and activity history. We're just going to remove these by clicking your remove button here. In a minute, I'm going to show you something else that's kind of funky. So type of installation needs to be at the top, does it? Let's have a look. Yes, it does. To the right column above owner. Yeah. So I'm going to move type of installation up. Thank you. Back to my related lists. Now, to get my related lists, this will change depending on what object you're looking at, because every object will have different relationships with other objects. So for the energy audits object, I'm just going to go to my I'm going to look in this menu on the left-hand side at the top. So top menu, left-hand side, you've got fields, buttons, quick actions, expanded lookups, etc. We're going to click related lists. And here is a list of all of the related lists that are available for this object. If we've enabled activities for a custom object, then we automatically get the activity history and the open activities as related lists. For this instance, we just want to pick up files and drag them down. And now that means that people can add files to these audits. So we quick save. Now it always gives you this pop-up menu to say, are you sure that you want to change this? Because users can actually change what related lists they see as well. So it's saying, as an administrator, do you want to change everybody's related lists? So you say yes. So it saves the layout. Now, yeah. Okay, so we've done that. Now we have to assign it to our profiles. Okay, so when you're done, just click save, and that will take you out of the page layout editor, and it will show you the two layouts that you have. One is the one that we had in the beginning, and the other is the one we've just changed just now. We're going to go to page layout assignment, because what we're going to do now is assign it to the correct profiles that should have it. So this is a sales profile. So we hit edit. We're presented with a big table to say, these are all the user profiles that we have. And here is the layout for this object that is assigned to each user profile. So if this is a sales layout, which profile do we think this has to be assigned to? The sales team, that's correct. So we are going to edit the assignments. And here is where we have to look down on our left. And luckily, all the profiles are shown in alphabetical order, but the profile that we want is called Custom Sales Profile. So once you've found it, it's a little way down. You just click. So you just click in the layout next to where it says Sales Profile, and that will make it go purple. That means it's been selected. And when it's been selected, it means you can then change the layout. Do you see what I'm doing there? Now you can also multi-select these. you can actually click in the top one, and you could hold down Shift and highlight all of them and change the layout if you wanted to. Okay. But in this instance, all I'm going to do is change the sales profile. Now, remember, if it's yellow, it's not been committed yet, but so nothing's changed yet. But if I hit save, it's gonna commit it. It's gonna say that sales profile has the sales energy audit layout. Okay. Does anybody need me to do that again? Okay. So now that we've done that, in theory, if we log in as a salesperson, we should see a completely different layout with files on the related lists. Okay, good. That was straightforward. So, yeah, okay. So one thing that we should go back and do now as well, just for the purposes of Trailhead, is we're going to go and add it to us, and we're going to assign our system administrator profile to it as well. So if you want to go ahead and do that, so edit assignment, let it load up, click on system administrator, which is usually the last one, and then select your sales layout and hit save. And from this point onwards, when you then view an energy audit, you will see it with that brand new layout. So let's go and have a look at it. Let's go to the app launcher, which is our 9 dots. And let's go and find energy audits. So ENER. Why did I call it? Yeah, items. So remember, we have our app called Energy Consultations, which we created last week. The items is where we'll find energy audits. Now I'm going to right click on that and open in a new tab, because I like to have one window open for front stage and the other one for backstage. Okay, I'm going to let that load up for a second. And then I'm going to click on, I'm already on the energy audits, which is good. And then I'm just going to click on one of my energy audits that I created last week. And now I can see the layout. So the type of installation is at the top, and the audit notes are there, followed by the owner. Then you have the audit name and the account, and then the 2 figures there. Now, one thing that I should also see is under the related section, I should see files, because that's what I put in the related lists. Okay, so we're all good on that front. So it's far more condensed, it's more efficient. Where would I go if I wanted to change the highlights panel, everybody? What would I change? You got it. We would change the compact layout. Why can't we see any fields there at the moment? Because it's not set up, and because it's a custom object. As a custom object, you don't get any, correct. So you would have to go and add fields to your compact layout to get that. Excellent. Everybody's doing good. So now we've got a quiz that we need to do. So I'm going to go incognito, as always, because I've done it before. And we're going to go ahead and do the quiz. Have people enjoyed this one so far? Okay, so question number 1. With a page layout, you can control A, whether a user sees related or details pages, B, the fields that display in the highlight panel, C, which fields, lists, links, and buttons a user sees on related, details, and edit pages, D, the size of the margins of a page, or E, all of the above. Okay, so you're all saying C. Yeah, I think that's what that would be as well. Question number 2, when you modify page layouts, you can A, change whether a field is required, B, change the order of the fields on the page. C, assign custom page layouts to different user profiles. D, arrange fields in logical sections. Or E, all of the above. Oh, you all smashed that one. Absolutely. Question number 3, where do the fields and sections of a page layout appear when you view a Lightning record page? A, in the highlights panel. B, under the details tab. C, under the related tab. D, in hover text when you mouse over the record name. Okay, and you're all saying B. Okay, everybody, go ahead and check your challenge. I love seeing your yays and woos when you pass this one. Woo! Well done, everybody. Well done, everybody. Okay, so let's take, I've got 10 minutes left. Do we want to move on to the next section, or do you want to open up for questions? Does anyone have any questions about this? Next section. Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll go through buttons and links and see if we can get finished off in the next 10 minutes. So the next section is about custom buttons and links. So every org has different business needs. And if you need to go to pages inside or outside Salesforce, you can add buttons and links to directly link to them. And you can also add buttons and links to make things a bit quicker as well. And it can help people become a lot more productive. It also means that people, if let's say you have an intranet and you want to give people an option to find out, you know, let's say you've got some training videos that are held elsewhere and you want to just make it easy for people to access them from Salesforce, you can create buttons and links in Salesforce to do that. Sorry. So custom links can link to an external URL. It could link to a Visualforce page, which is a coded page that you can build inside Salesforce. It could link to something on a Google site. It could link to a YouTube video. It could link to all kinds of stuff. In fact, the website that I've given you with the homework and so on it, I haven't set the homework yet, but I will, don't worry. You can actually, that uses a similar concept where I just literally embed it's a way of embedding content behind a link or a button. And you can also choose the display properties, such as does it open up in a new window, does it open up in a new tab when you click on it, and you know, what are the various types of button that you can have. So there are 3 that you can mainly create. A list button appears on a related list on an account object, on an object record page. So example of that might be a campaign. Campaigns are targeted marketing activities, and you can use a multi-drop, you can use a list button to add campaign members to a campaign. And campaign members might be contacts or leads that you plan to target with your marketing campaign. And campaigns themselves use a special button called a list button. Let me just see if I can show you an example of that in Lightning. Hopefully I'm ticked as a marketing user, so I can use campaigns and I don't have to muck around. Yeah, I can. Hopefully there's a sample campaign in here. I'll just really quickly create a new one. Okay. So on here, you can have, so there's a list button on the campaign members related list. And the reason it's a list button is because when you click that, it says, it gives you the option to add multiple items. So I can go and click all of these different people and include them in my campaign. Okay, whereas a button on its own might be just, go away. An example of a single button might be on my energy audit. Sorry, I'll pick a contact actually. Let me just go back into energy audits. Where you have activities, let's say on an account, a single list button would be adding a new opportunity to an account record, where you've got the opportunities related list on an account and it just says new. That would be an example of a single list button. Okay, so new, this is a single list button, because you're only adding one at a time. You're not adding a whole bunch of them in one go. La 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 la. So okay, so we're going to add that so we've got our files actually. What's this telling us to do? So we're going to add a custom button to the energy audits related list to allow users to navigate directly to the audit guidelines PDF. She's uploaded it as a file, right? So we are going to go to what? From the app launcher, select the Sales app and click the Files tab. So that's what we're going to do. In fact, I'm not going to bother changing my app. I'm just going to find the Files tab. So I'm going to click my app launcher and I'm going to click File, type in Files, and I'm going to open up the new Files page. And all I'm going to do is do an upload. And I'm picking an image. Okay. And then I'm going to click share next to the image. So I'm going to click that drop down on the right hand side next to the image I've just uploaded, and I'm going to click share. And this is where I can change who gets to see this image that I've just uploaded. Sorry, I'm just flicking back to the... So, and we're just going to click create link. Okay, so what that means is anyone who's got the link can view and download the file on the internet. So we click create and it will just create this link, and then we can copy it and hit done. Oh, I know what it's going to do. So what we're then going to do is go to our object manager and then click energy audit. So back to our object manager, here we are in the energy audit. And then we're going to go to a new item on the menu, which is called buttons, links and actions. And we're going to create a new button or link, which is this box on the right hand side. Then what we're going to do is we're going to call it audit guidelines. And then we have to say what this is going to be. So this is going to be, what type of button is this going to be? This is going to be a list button. And then what we're going to do is we are going to paste our big, long, nasty link into the box in this menu here, but only after the point where it says /SFC. The path to hell. So what I'm doing here is getting rid of everything up to where it says salesforce.com. I'm just going to delete. Okay. If you're not doing it with me at the moment, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But you can always catch up later. But all this is doing is it's just adding this public link to the document we uploaded behind a button that's called audit guidelines. Yeah, and it is a bit nerve-wracking because you're putting a big formula in, but don't worry about it for the moment. All we're doing is just changing a link. It's just going to create like an attachment. So then we click save and then click OK. Now, obviously, nobody's going to be able to see this link at the moment because it's just sitting around in the background until we add it to a page layout. So what we have to do is go and add it to the related list. Where are we adding it to? We are going to the account and then we're changing the page layout for accounts. Okay, and the reason we're doing this is because this button is going to appear on the energy audits related list that's against that account. So we go to our object manager, we go to account, we go to our page layout, and we go to our account layout because that's the one we're all using at the moment. Then we need to find the energy audits related list, and we'll see that a bit further down. You can either scroll down to get there, or if you want to save your fingers, just click related lists and it'll take you straight there. Neat little trick for you. We're going to scroll down, we're going to find energy audits. Oh, look, there it is on the bottom. And we're going to click our spanner. Now, this is where you can add fields in. You can say which fields you want to show in the related lists, and you can do that for any related list at all. But what we're going to do is we want to add a button. So, just a sec. Aha, I've scrolled in too far in. So, if you zoomed in, zoom out, and then you'll see a section that's called buttons, and on the right hand side there's a little plus sign, and you press that to expand it, and then you should see your button is available at that point. So then you click audit guidelines and click add, and then click OK. And now what you'll see is when you scroll down, you will see a button that your audit guidelines button is shown on the related list there. You can also change the order of your related lists. You can move this up a bit if you want, which I'm going to do because I like having it fairly close to the top. And then make sure you save. Yeah, quick save. Apologise in advance if I lose you. Lucy's favourite thing to do is to wander all over my desk while I'm working. So once we've added that, we can navigate back to our app, go back to front stage and find our Gene Point account. And I'm just going to do that by clicking in the drop down. And if it's not appearing there, I'll just start typing. Gene Point. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to find my energy audits. And you'll see, oh, look, there's this magic button here. What happens if I click it? This is where everything will break. Or not. Lucy, there you go. And there is my document that I created the link for and made available. Let me just check. Okay. Everyone okay with that? Okay. Now we have come to the end of our session for now. I'm happy to stop there and we can pick up the rest of it on Wednesday, if that's all right with everybody. Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. And then I will go off and upload all this stuff, get this week's homework ready, and we can pick up again on Wednesday. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate it. Thank you. That's okay. Don't worry about it, Jeremy.